Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top. Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
It's the best station, period.
Let's be honest. These guys have the best job on the planet.
You come to work in a frickin' bathrobe?
So if you're out there working hard, you should also expect your radio hosts to put in an honest day's work. So of course, Jake and Ben are live at 5 with the biggest headlines and the best analysis in Utah. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, we have more tickets to give away for Post Malone. Nice. Let's do it right now. 801-575-ZONE. We're going to hook you up with a pair of tickets to go see Post Malone with special guest Jelly Roll and Carter Faith at Rice-Eccles Stadium coming up on next Tuesday, July 28th. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. Live at 5, brought to you as always by our friends at Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 855-TRAJAN-1, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Big stories of the day. Big story continues to be low waiting on LeBron James to make up his mind and where he's going to play basketball next year. And, of course, college football in the lead up to fall camps starting in less than 2 weeks. I believe. So it continues to be a big story with that, and we'll get to some audio coming up here in a second. But the latest on LeBron is there is no latest on LeBron. Shams Charania did have a report earlier today talking about LeBron has everything he needs to make a decision. They are not waiting on anything. And, in fact, Christian, whose attention is divided. Can we play the Shams cut real quick? This is Shams Charania from earlier today giving us the latest, or lack thereof, on what's going on with LeBron James in low weight.
There's nothing left. The teams are the teams. The information's the information. LeBron has everything he needs to make a decision. The conversations have happened. They're not, from my understanding, my sources tell me that LeBron James, his agent Rich Paul, that inner circle, they're not waiting for another domino right now. They're not waiting for Anthony Davis to get traded anywhere. They're not waiting for anyone else to move around anywhere. The teams, Cleveland, Miami, Golden State, Philadelphia, Minnesota, they're set. Those are the teams. Wherever he ends up, I mean, you're looking at minimum deals, you're looking at exceptions. The contracts are not going to be this grand part of this deal. LeBron James was very clear from the very beginning. This is going to be based on happiness in terms of chance to contend for a championship, a chance to compete at a high level, join a culture. That doesn't come from going to a team and then gutting that team from multiple different players. Now, listen, if during the first week of July, LeBron James and Rich Paul told, the Heat or the Cavs or the Warriors, hey, we need you to do this and we're coming, those teams might have done that, but that message was not delivered. And so you just kind of have to read between the lines if you're some of these teams and you need to figure it out. But it's at a point now, July 23rd, it's really up to LeBron James. The entire NBA is waiting on LeBron James' decision.
Yeah, Adam Silver admitted as much, that they're holding off on the schedule release. We talked to David Locke in the 4 o'clock hour earlier in the show, and he was perturbed, as am I, as somebody on the Jazz broadcast, that we haven't seen the schedule so we can, plan our lives. But we've got to wait for LeBron to make his announcement at the most opportune time, which will not be Friday in the afternoon. LeBron's not going to do that for a Friday news dump, as we talked to David James about earlier. So expect that coming up, I would hope, next week. But The news that we did get from Shams right there, the clip, is that LeBron is not waiting on a team to do some sort of action to make room for LeBron. Or, the rumors out there were that LeBron and Clutch want to basically have Cleveland make a deal to somehow acquire Anthony Davis from Washington. Shams' report there would indicate that is not the case. They are not. There's not a team out there that needs to make a couple of moves to make room for this and that for LeBron James to sign. And another notable piece of news there that the LeBron camp does not want whatever team that ends up getting LeBron to gut the team in order to be able to get him. And there was a rumor that was out last night is when I saw it, but I've seen it a couple other places today, that there may be some sort of sign and trade that the Jazz could be involved in to do just that, where the Jazz maybe land Jared Allen from Cleveland in some sort of sign and trade deal that would involve LeBron James. If Shams is to be believed right there, that is not the case. Now, I don't know if Shams knows the whole truth or if that is indeed the whole truth. I still find it fairly curious that James Harden is still a free agent and hasn't signed his, I guess it wouldn't be an extension, but signed his deal with Cleveland. That was no doubt promised to him when the trade with the Clippers happened last year, and he certainly is showing no urgency in going out and finding another landing spot. And frankly, the national media doesn't. Have you heard any national media, Christian, say, "Well, where's James Harden going to sign"? I haven't heard.
It doesn't seem to be a story. No, it's almost like he's not a free agent.
So why would they be waiting on that if not to maintain maximum flexibility for some sort of reason? I still keep coming back to that. So,
well, like DJ said, if not LeBron, then maybe DeMar DeRozan or something similar. Maybe
they do move on to a plan B. I don't know. I do think any sort of scenario where the Jazz would land Jared Allen in a trade would be pretty ideal for the Utah Jazz. I mean, imagine that, where you lose Walker Kessler, but you add a better player, which Jared Allen is better than Walker right now, I would say. Maybe not in the future, I don't know. But right now, I would take Jared Allen over Walker Kessler, and his deal is much more reasonable, as we've looked into. Jared Allen only makes around $22 million. So that would be a pretty amazing outcome for the Jazz if they came out with certainly a good player at center. Maybe they'd prefer Walker, I don't know, but I'm sure they'd take Jared Allen on a better contract, and to come out with 2 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps out of the situation would be pretty rosy, in my opinion, for the Utah Jazz. Ben has kind of been I almost said harping, that's too strong. But Ben has been bringing up a bunch that the Jazz, without Walker Kessler, are not as good a team, which, of course, is true. But for how long and at what cost, and what were their goals to begin with? Anyway, I thought David Locke came on with us in his whole podcast series into some of these categories where the most elite teams are. And the Jazz aren't there yet, but I don't even know if people were talking about being a contending team, I don't think that's the case. So if you take a step back to take a step forward, there's a lot of logic in that to me. It's just the time frame on when the Jazz have a better option at center than Yusuf Nurkic, because now Nurk can indeed finally breathe. But I still don't think that's going to make a difference where all of a sudden he's a serviceable starting center in the NBA. He is not. He has some skills that are extremely useful and that the Jazz particularly need. And David talked about this quite a bit, but the rebounding, first and foremost. The Jazz are not a very good rebounding team, period. But without Nurk on the floor, they're really going to be a bad rebounding team. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a rebounder. But Nurk is not the long-term solution. So how long do they go with their current situation before they address it in some way, shape, or form? So I find it intriguing, the idea of a center like Jared Allen moving around. I'm sure the Jazz would be in the market to somehow make that work. And I believe that Cleveland would be open to somewhat of a reshuffling, LeBron or no LeBron, and maybe Jared Allen is where they decide to reshuffle. I don't know if it'd be where I'd start, but maybe they would.
after the shortcomings the last few years since they've added Donovan Mitchell, it's clear that they need to do something, whether that something is adding LeBron. And is that just enough, or do they need to try and bring in Anthony Davis as well? And I know that this clip from Shams is kind of saying the opposite, that LeBron's not waiting on a trade for Anthony Davis to be lined up to decide his next spot. But I do think, especially after they hand Donovan Mitchell that bag of money, eventually Cleveland is going to have to move off of either Mobley or Jared Allen. And before Giannis was traded to Miami, they were seen as a destination for Giannis, and one of those two was going to have to be involved for Giannis, right? Simply because they have been there for so long and it has not yielded any fruit, right?
So if LeBron's in love with the narrative, I think he'll pick Cleveland. If he's in love with, we talked about it earlier, if he's in love with how the movie plays out, then he's going to pick Cleveland. The final chapter in LeBron's career, going home, Akron, the little kid from Akron, all that stuff. But if he picks truly based on his current happiness, I bet he picks Miami. I think Miami is a better fit for LeBron James on and off the floor. And I'm not even, if you're a 41-year-old guy and you get to choose where you go and where you're going to live part-time, where are you going to pick? Miami or Cleveland?
It's like the Office episode where they go to Florida and Stanley goes and just treats it like a vacation.
Yeah.
What does he call himself? He straight up calls himself like Florida Stanley or something.
Yeah.
That's LeBron.
That is LeBron. I think he'd be a better fit, and the lifestyle would be much, much more appealing. And I'm not even talking about partying or anything like that. I'm just talking about
like that,
having more options in the wintertime for things to do, and to be able to truly be happy. It would be a little bit easier in Miami, I would think, than Cleveland, unless that LeBron really loves his favorite restaurants growing up and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I still would predict Cleveland, Christian, although I'm a little bit more open to Miami. I don't think he's going to Philly.
So you think Philly, Minnesota, and Golden State are off the table completely?
I think they're out.
Okay.
I think if he were going to Golden State, it probably would have happened already.
And that's another move similar to James Harden. And this was actually part of this clip from Shams. It was a longer, 3-minute clip, and I trimmed this down. He brought up Draymond Green declining his option with the Warriors, and that kind of caught everybody off guard. Yeah. And Draymond still hasn't re-signed with the Warriors. So it's a little bit of a similar situation to the James Harden thing with Cleveland. But, again, you're talking about fit. What does LeBron bring to Golden State? How much better does he realistically make them? Is Steph interested in doing that? Because, again, that's his franchise. That's his team.
I just wish that he would get on with it already, and let's have a decision so we can get the schedule, which would be lovely. I still say that them waiting with the schedule is dumb. They're still going to put Miami, Cleveland, Philly on TV all the time. What difference does it make?
Because, again, they already have star players that matter.
Right.
And Cleveland was in the conference finals last year.
Maybe
it's easy to sell.
Maybe if he were going to pick the Clippers or something, which they all of a sudden would put them on TV, maybe that would make a difference. But in this case, Cleveland was in the Eastern Conference Finals. You're going to put them on TV all the time. Miami has Giannis. Philly has a cavalcade of interesting players now. Or did I say Cleveland? I meant Philly.
You said Philly. Yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay. The other thing, and we're going to play a little sound here. Of course, college football as camps approach. SEC Media Day is going on this week. As July is about to come to a close, and we'll thankfully have on the field storylines to talk about. There is some news in the college football world that we can talk about. It's also in the political world. But anytime we can hear Sark crying about something, I think we should start there. This is from SEC Media Days. This is Sark talking about missing the playoffs last year.
If we beat Ohio State last year, surely we're in a much better position when it comes to the playoffs. But on the other side of it is, if I don't play Ohio State and I play Jones Junior High and we're 10-2 and our 2 losses are to Georgia and Florida, we're a playoff team. But like anything in this world, if you want to be really good at something, you got to take risk. There's a lot of value in that win if you can get the win. And so is the juice worth the squeeze or not? That's what we're all tasked with. And so I don't know yet about Notre Dame. We'll see. Because I think the committee's got to show us what happens now and what's the value that they're placing on strength of schedule. And are we going to let a 9-3 team in as an at-large? We'll find out. And I think that this year is going to be a great test to that of what that looks like.
Wow. Okay. I had not heard that. I was all prepared to clown Sark for crying about not making the playoffs, but that's not actually the point he's bringing up. The point he's bringing up is absolutely a relevant one. Why would college football programs schedule decent non-conference teams? Why? What's the reward? And I've been kind of talking about what he's alluding to for a long time, that the committee members and voters before them are dumb. And they can't get past the record. They can never get past the number of losses. That's what all these calculations are all made on is, well, this is a 2-loss team or a 3-loss team or a 1-loss team. And then you get through all the 1-loss teams and then you move on to the 2-loss teams and then you split hairs amongst the 2-loss teams. So to Sark's point, what was the point in playing Ohio State? There really isn't one unless you win and then you are measured up against another 2-loss team, right? So I'm with him. You've got to I'm with him. You've got to figure out whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. Do you get enough benefit from beating a tough team in your non-conference to make it worth it? And I think he's complaining that he was a 3-loss team and maybe should have jumped, or I guess he's not really saying that because they lost the game. But the potential benefit of winning the game, was it just a wash? Would they have gotten the same credit from beating South Alabama because their loss total is actually what matters, right? So if they would have won that game, they would have made the playoffs as a 2-loss team, not because they beat Ohio State. Does that make any sense?
No, of course. He's going to say all this, but remember the big storyline a couple months ago when Texas Tech was wanting to play them, right? He had some choice words about Texas Tech and the soft schedule that they play, and Tech offered to play Texas, and Texas won't do it. So I don't know.
But that's just pride. That's just pride messing with you. That's just Sark taking a shot at Texas Tech's pride.
Right.
And Texas Tech, with their hurt feelings, coming back and saying, oh, yeah, I'd like to see you play us. It had nothing to do with strategy to win the national championship.
Well, if he wants a good non-conference game, they open up their season this year against Texas State, right? What would look better on the resume, a win over Texas State or a win over Texas Tech?
It doesn't matter. That's his point. As long as you win, it doesn't matter. As long as you don't put an L, who cares who you beat? As long as it's a W, because nobody's looking back and giving any credit towards strength of schedule. It's all about the getting the win matters way more. And when I say the win, I'm not even saying win over a good team. Getting a win on your resume is way more beneficial than the risk of losing to anybody. So you might as well not take the risk. You might as well play an automatic team because you're going to get the same amount of credit for winning the game. And losing any game is way more consequential. So why would you play the hard opponent in the first place? Secretly, I'm sure Sark is super jealous of Texas Tech's schedule.
Probably.
He would love to play a schedule where he could just roll through with 1 or 2 losses and make the playoff no problem. Does that make sense? He's calling him out for a soft schedule, but he wishes he had a soft schedule. If he had a soft schedule, he would have made the playoffs last year. That's basically what he's implying. If they did not play Ohio State last year, they would have made the college football playoff. And he's totally right. So what was the point of playing Ohio State?
If they did also lose to Florida, who finished 4-8.
And and Georgia, as he said right there. But they still would have had 2 losses. It doesn't matter.
And if
they would have been an SEC team,
she'd be my uncle.
But they wouldn't have had 2 losses if they didn't play or they wouldn't have 3 losses if they didn't play in the game.
They wouldn't have had 3 losses if they didn't lose to Florida. So I mean, it's easy to nitpick and pick the Ohio State out of conference game, but also if you handle your conference slate like you should, I mean, they have 9 conference games now.
Sure,
if you handle them like you should, that leaves you enough leeway with at least one really good out of conference game to essentially lose. You can still finish with a 10-win season if you handle your conference slate.
Okay,
you're supposed to be good enough.
Let me ask you this. Does Texas have to play Florida?
No. Do they?
Yes.
Well, they do.
They're
have to
in the
play
conference.
every
Yes,
year,
they have to play Florida. I don't even think they play every year, but you have to play the games.
Right. They have to play the conference games, yes.
You have to play the games your conference hands down. Do they have to play Ohio State?
No, they do not have to play that game.
So that's the point. They had, you can say take care of business and beat Florida. Well, they have no control over that. They have to play Florida. Whether they win or lose, they have to play that game. They don't have to play Ohio State. They can play a cupcake, and it doesn't matter. If they played a cupcake, they would have gotten into the playoff last year.
Well, strength of schedule should matter at some point, though, right?
But it does not.
Well, I mean, I think especially when it comes to expansion and you have 16 or 24 teams, right? And you're picking between, at that point, 4 9-win teams. You're going to pick the ones with the best strength of schedule, right? So I think I do think strength of schedule and your out-of-conference schedule, I think that is going to matter to an extent. To your point, right. Nobody made Sark schedule Ohio State, and that was maybe a little bit of arrogance thinking that they could win that game, and that would be an automatic ticket to the playoff, which they end up losing, and they miss out on that. But at some point, you have 3 non-conference games. You got to do something with them to separate yourself from, the next SEC team.
I don't think you really do. BYU had a better strength of schedule 2 years ago than SMU, and quite literally beat SMU on the field. SMU still got in. Right. They're not even using strength of schedule when they're making those decisions down with 2 and 3 lost teams. They're not. They're picking the more popular team or the team with more groundswell or more money or all sorts of different reasons. You would hope it'd be strength of schedule, but it's not. And even then, you're down. I mean, you could make an argument strength of schedule mattered way more with the 4-team playoff because there were way fewer teams that got in. So you had to figure data points to be able to get them in. Now, I don't know why teams would schedule hard teams in the non-conference. I really don't. There's literally no benefit to it other than being able to stick out your chest and saying, yeah, we play tough teams. All right. Well, what did that get Texas last year? Nothing.
Well, maybe Texas just wasn't very good.
Christian, we're talking about a 12-team playoff. 3/4 of the teams that get in are not very good. And that problem is just getting worse, not better, if they expand it. So, yeah, Texas wasn't very good last year. Well, we're measuring up against lots of not very good teams. So I get his point. I was prepared to disagree with Sark. I totally get his point. You got to figure out a way to make scheduling non-conference more beneficial, or teams aren't going to do it.
Or at least be transparent with, does strength of schedule matter, and follow that.
But the playoff committee has there's no like consistency.
Guideline, right.
There's
That's
no
what I'm
at
saying.
all. There's none. They're just, did they wake up with heartburn that day? That's how they're making decisions, is just based on a gut feeling in the moment.
And that's why Miami got in at the last second.
Yeah, so what is it? What good does it do you? What benefit do you have from playing even if you win? Like, even if you beat Ohio State, it means the same amount as beating Ohio. Doesn't matter. Because all they care about is the loss column. How many losses do you have when weighing these decisions? Because these humans who are making the decisions aren't very smart or nuanced, for that matter. All right. There you go. There's the latest from Sark. The latest update, by the way, from a news perspective, but this is bad news. The college, what's it officially called? The bill in the Senate for college sports, the Protect College Sports Act. Well, this is reporting from ESPN. Senate Majority Leader John Thune does not expect the Protect College Sports Act will go to a full Senate vote before the August recess. This would substantially shrink the already long odds that the NCAA and its schools get an antitrust exemption. So this does not mean that the bill is dead, but this pretty much means the bill is on its way to being dead. Certainly in this calendar year. So that's bad.
Shocker,
that's bad
right?
news in my opinion. But yeah, not a shocker. No. All right. Coming up next, we're going to play a segment. David James was on with me in the 2:00 hour, and anytime you have David James on, you got to highlight that. So he was with us for our top 3 stories segment, and we covered a lot of good ground. So we're going to play that segment coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Brought to you by our friends at J. Brooks Jewelers. Actually, David's dear friend, John from J. Brooks Jewelers.
John from J. Brooks Jewelers.
Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials, J. Brooks Jewelers. The reason, though, that is funny is because you have known John, and we've had as a station, a relationship with J. Brooks for...
I'm bad on time, but certainly a decade, absolutely pre-pandemic.
Plus, probably.
Yeah.
So
he'd be a better, but whether it's 2019 or 2015, I don't know.
But they rock, and we love them. So...
True story.
All right, Christian, where do you want to start?
Number 1, the Trib put out an article talking about Kalani Sitake. BYU does not want to be the highest bidder when it comes to NIL.
It's not what they're saying, anyway. Kalani wants them to be there for development and overall, well-being, as opposed to just there for the check.
He's been very clear about that. If it's just about the money, they get turned off recruiting kids. If that's the first thing that comes up, they get turned off recruiting kids. They'll pay people, and they will. Their NIL is good, and if it weren't, they'd be losing more kids. And they have a fair number of kids who are A, pretty good football players, and B, not church members. Certainly for the kids who grow up, church members, the return missionary kid, there are absolutely other things than money. It's not all about the money. But I think in those situations, you got to at least be in the ballpark. And it's basketball, not football, but it was so public, and I don't think there's that much difference in the way high school athlete thinks, regardless of their sport. It's like, you think you're worth a certain amount of money. Well, for A.J. DeBonce, it was like $5 million. If you're not paying me $5 million, I'm not coming. Now, there were multiple schools that are going to pay him $5 million, but he didn't turn it into an auction for the highest bidder. There was also a, where do I want to be? Where do I feel comfortable? Who's going to develop me? Who's got NBA experience on the coaching staff? What kind of schedule are you going to play? What kind of competition am I going to face? They had all these other questions. And that's a pretty good balance. I think it's unrealistic to say, well, the money just doesn't matter. Well, if you're independently wealthy, that's great, but that's going to be a super small portion of the population.
Yeah.
So, but to say, hey, I'm worth X, you got to get to X, and then let's see how many competitors there are at that point and where I really feel comfortable. To go someplace where you're miserable just for the money, whether you're a college athlete or you're our age, and we're different ages, doesn't matter where you are in your career, to go just for the money, it had better be a pile of money, because there is a decent chance you're not happy. And when you complain about not being happy, you're going to get hit with the legendary line, which I think started with Mad Men and now has been repeated over and over. I know Harrison Ford likes to use it. That's what the money's for.
Right.
Well, hey, that's what the money's for.
I want to channel your co-host in the morning, Patrick Kinahan, because I've heard you guys have this discussion a bunch of times because of that anonymous quote that a BYU donor gave that said they will not be outbid. And then they've spent a considerable amount of time and energy running away from that. And what Kalani is saying here is no different than any other team in the country or coach or whatever is going to say. I just don't understand why they're putting that story out there and running away from the NIL and from the money so publicly and so much. What does it matter? And you know what? You're telling me that if it takes, whatever it takes to get Bear Bachmeier onto the field, well, you're going to do it. Whether money's his first priority or his eighth priority, you're going to give him money and you're going to give him a lot of it. He's there because BYU has resources. So why do they so much energy into running from that?
Yeah, and I don't
get it.
think everybody has the same agenda, although it might sound similar, or maybe it just sounds exactly alike to some people.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody has the same agenda. When I hear coaches say it, and I've heard coaches say it in multiple sports, and I've heard coaches say it, some who are at BYU, some who are not, some who are in the state of Utah, some are out of the state of Utah. What they have in common is, we'll pay you. Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State, the ex-coach, goes on this list. We'll pay you. But if all you ever do is talk about money, You're not going to watch enough film. You're not going to work hard enough in the weight room. You're not going to put in the extra time at home watching more film, looking at your playbook, doubling and tripling down to make sure that you know every formation, you know every defense, everything the other defense does. You know, if you're an offense and you're a receiver, you know what the quarterback is thinking. You don't have to look at him. You know what the adjustment's going to be. You know when and where the ball is going to be thrown because of the look the defense gives you. And you need everyone on the defense to see the offense break this, to see the personnel, see the formation, and know what play is coming because you've all watched that much. When someone doesn't know, it breaks everything down. And if all you do is money, 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 the other stuff's going to suffer. And you're not going to be the best player you can be. We will address the money, you will get a pile of money, and then we will move on. And if you can't embrace that as a player, the move on part, then Kalani and a bunch of other coaches are next. And one of the cool quotes that goes back to this is Kalani was asked once about how fast somebody was or how fast a group of players was. I think it was last year. And he said, well, I mean, I want them to be fast, but I also want them to run in the right direction when the ball is snapped.
Great line.
Fabulous line, right?
Great line.
And we're talking to Bronco one morning. Bronco Mendenhall, Aggie coach, comes on. And I tell him that, and this is Bronco, who's not known for being a laugh a minute, right? He's a fairly serious guy. And he's like, oh, Bronco has so used that line. Bronco has absolutely stood in a room with the defense or with the backs of the linebackers like, I want you to be fast, but could you run the right way? Because every coach has had kids blow assignments, run, and they're like, we talked about it in film. We talked about it on the practice field. We talked about it again in film, and you still ran the wrong way. Yeah. What is the key?
I'm glad you brought up Bronco, though, because, listen, Bronco has said something very similar to these quotes to Kalani that we're talking about. Yeah. You're going to come to Utah State for more, and if you're going to be on the team, more. Now, Bronco coaching at Utah State, they don't have any money. So he actually means that. Kalani, they're flush with dough. Why are they running from it? I don't get it.
They have, everybody has money, right? But they don't have as much money as someone who might pry their kid away from them. So don't say the Aggies don't have any money. They have some money. And that's why they're prying kids away from other schools. But they got kids prying away from them because they're in the middle of the food chain. There are both bigger fish and smaller fish.
Does Bronco's quote similar to Kalani's mean more, though? I think it does. But I think they're both just getting the PR line out there that they've got to get out there. Well, I just don't know why Kalani's doing it.
They do have bosses. Well, he has bosses in the church.
Why are they so sensitive?
Well, because there are some who want it to be 40 years ago and have that not be an issue. Yeah. And they want to, and that's just not realistic. It's not true. I don't think it's honest. I don't think you should talk to the public like that because the public knows better.
Yeah.
Right? So,
like that?
Yes, exactly. So, but when a coach, you got to allow a coach for they're dealing with numbskulls who get so focused on the money and then they don't work as hard and they blow assignments. And that's why coaches say it. Now, why do other people say it? Why does a church leader say it? Why does a school president say it? Why does maybe a longtime booster say it? They might have a different agenda. I think they probably do have a different agenda than a coach who says it. It lands differently based on who's saying it.
What is next, Christian?
Number 2, Shams with the latest on Le Decision today, talking about LeBron James, said he's not waiting for a trade involving Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving to make his decision.
Nothing left. The teams are the teams. The information's the information. LeBron has everything he needs to make a decision. The conversations have happened. They're not, from my understanding, my sources tell me that LeBron James, his agent Rich Paul, that inner circle, they're not waiting for another domino right now. They're not waiting for Anthony Davis to get traded anywhere. They're not waiting for anyone else to move around anywhere. The teams, Cleveland, Miami, Golden State, Philadelphia, Minnesota, they're set. Those are the teams. Wherever he ends up, you're looking at minimum deals. You're looking at exceptions. The contracts are not going to be this grand part of this deal. LeBron James was very clear from the very beginning. This is going to be based on happiness in terms of chance to contend for a championship, a chance to compete at a high level, join a culture. That doesn't come from going to a team and then gutting that team from multiple different players. Now, listen, if during the first week of July, LeBron James and Rich Paul told, the Heat, or the Cavs or the Warriors, hey, we need you to do this and we're coming, those teams might have done that. But that message was not delivered. And so you just kind of have to read between the lines if you're some of these teams, and you need to figure it out. But it's at a point now, July 23rd, it's really up to LeBron James. The entire NBA is waiting on LeBron James' decision.
The entire NBA is waiting.
Well, everybody's waiting on a schedule, so there's that. The commissioner told the truth. And on top of that, you got unrestricted free agents like DeMar DeRozan. Once LeBron signs, there'll be some teams with some money left. There'll be some teams who have roster spots to fill and money to spend. And
Except for
then he can get on with his life.
None of those teams have any money. And that's why what Shams said is important, that the contract isn't really a deal. Yep. You know, and he doesn't want to, I think that's interesting, he doesn't want to gut the team that he's going to sign with. So, you know, maybe there is that. But it's not like if Cleveland doesn't get LeBron, they're going to go sign DeMar DeRozan. Maybe they would. But would DeMar DeRozan take a vet minimum contract? Because that's what they're talking about.
I've read multiple people saying there are multiple people in the league waiting for LeBron to sign. Foremost among those, DeMar DeRozan. So once he signs, I guess we'll be able to look back and figure out, well, because of that, he was waiting for this. Or maybe we'll hear, well, if it had been that would have impacted him. But since it didn't happen, now he does this.
By the way, I'm talking myself into Miami with this lifestyle happiness thing. Like thinking he's going to go to Miami and those reasons. Because, like, if you really were doing happiness, you know.
That and Miami's accidental video.
Yeah.
They put together a video with a specific date on it. Put together a video and be ready just in case.
But it doesn't have a date on it.
But when you put a date on it, come on. I think you know something.
All right. Well, bad day to be that
decision.
YouTuber.
I don't think it's a Friday news dump, so I think
no.
at this point we're waiting for a Monday. He's going to maximize it.
As much as he can.
This is right next to the decision. It's different, but it's something.
Next.
Number 3, it's late July. That means NFL training camps are underway. A week from today is the Hall of Fame game, kicking off the preseason.
Are they going to do it on that crappy field like they always do?
Yeah. Why would they change now?
I don't know. Why do they do that?
Because it's literally right next door to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know where it is, but fix it.
What part would you like fixed?
The field.
It's a turf field.
Yeah, they get people hurt.
Well, that's all. Turf versus grass is a whole other discussion. The reason it's turf is because multiple high schools play there. There are places that have stadiums that play, a whole district plays there, a whole, they'll have 3, 4, 5, 6 games, a Thursday game, a Friday doubleheader, a Saturday tripleheader. And then the schools save money because they don't have to buy as much land and everybody has their own stadium. They have to do their own upkeep and blah, 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 blah. They don't have to do that.
Oh, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I heard you had Kevin on today. Kevin was good, chopping up the NFL. I love it that Bo Nix sucking was a topic on Scotty and the coach because I think he's terrible. And Christian is a huge Broncos fan. So
why do you think he's terrible?
Because Christian likes him.
Okay, so it is nothing.
He doesn't actually have an opinion on it.
Nah, he's pretty bad.
How is he pretty bad if they double-digit wins, win the division, win a playoff game, they're in the conference title game, which if he had played, they might have won.
Yeah, might have.
But without him...
I don't know. Stidham's pretty good.
I think one big thing... Stidham was terrible. What are you talking about? I think one big thing they have going for them is that and I can call up his salary, I think it's around $8 or $10 million, something like that, is that they've got a lot of money to spend on the rest of the roster. And their defense is excellent. And Houston, same deal. The quarterback's still on a rookie deal. Their defense is excellent. That's a huge advantage. Now, Bo Nix is going to want to be paid. How much is he going to want to be paid? 30 mil, 40 mil, 50 mil, 60 mil. Where's that going to go? How much winning is he going to do before they negotiate that deal? And how much is that going to damage the rest of the roster? And can he really carry the show? Because there were 10 quarterbacks last year made $50 million. There'll be 12 this year. Last year, only half of the 10 made the playoffs. And Mahomes had the injury. But paying a quarterback who's had success a lot of money doesn't guarantee you more success. When the Rams won the Super Bowl, Stafford was not among the elite. Now he is. Now he's making $55 million. But he was making, I think, 15 less than that. And Seattle, how did Darnold do it? Well, they paid him $33 million. That gives him an extra $20, $25 million to spend. And they had an awesome defense. And they had not one but 2 good running backs. And on down the line, they put a great team around him, and they won the Super Bowl.
If you're going to pay a quarterback, make sure he's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Brock Purdy stinks. But if
Josh Allen took 40 instead of 57 or whatever he's at, would he have a Super Bowl title now because he had a better team around him?
Probably.
So you pays your money and you takes your choice. You take a little less, you might win a little more, and then you might get it back down the road. Or don't worry about it. Take all you can get.
All right, stay tuned. More with David James. One more segment with DJ coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Your home for the best sports radio for your afternoon drive is right here. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my.
SMU had a better record than BYU 2 years ago. At the end of the 12-game season, which is why they got in, they picked up their second loss in the conference championship game, and the committee made it clear they would not penalize them for losing in an extra game.
I think in general, Jake makes a really good point about football teams not scheduling hard non-conference games. But I will say, if you're Texas and you schedule Ohio State and you beat Ohio State, that win might just be a win to you, but it's also a loss for Ohio State. And that could potentially open up a playoff spot for either you or somebody else, especially if you are the team that beat them.
There you go. Thanks for the voicemails. First one from MG. The second one from Austin, making good points. If you are Texas, or if you are any, I would say, we could say P4, but certainly a Big Ten or an SEC school, what's the point of having a tough non-conference? The downside seems to outweigh the upside. But appreciate the historical clarification, MG. And then Austin, you're right. If Texas would have beat Ohio State, it would have damaged them as well. But now there's so many teams to get in. Are you really that worried about damaging other teams? Does it really matter?
Well, I think that game's too hard to play. But the historical clarification is funny because what was BYU's record at the end of 12 games last year?
Oh, yeah, right. And then they were punished
were punished because they lost the Big 12 championship. So to your point, Jake, you brought this up earlier, there is no consistency. There is no guideline. It really just is a matter of when this final poll comes out, who do the voters want in? And that's who gets in.
That's who gets in. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's always been super inconsistent. It's about who they want to get in. And who was the beneficiary of that last year? Alabama, right?
Well, Miami was the big one, but yeah.
Miami because they beat Notre Dame.
Right.
And then Alabama got in because they cried so much the year before about not getting in that they didn't want to put up with that again, and so they put Alabama in. Yeah, it's whatever they're in the mood for.
The storyline was Kalani just needs to cry more.
Yes, yeah.
Kalani needs to hammer the table a little bit more, a little harder.
He's not going to do that, though.
Right.
Which I kind of like that about him. But it doesn't mean that that's the right move for his football team. If he really wants BYU to be included, yeah, he should be howling. But no, he's not going to do that. But great voicemails. Appreciate those guys, MG and Austin. Appreciate you weighing in. If you have something to say, leave a voicemail. You can download the KSL Sports app, then go down to the voicemail button, which I believe is at the bottom, and then you can record a message, and it goes right to Christian in the control room. And as always say, this is for Jake and Ben. We do that because we also want to include our friends from the future, the podcast listeners, and we don't want the other shows stealing your great material. That is our job. We steal your great material. So leave it anytime. Say it's for Jake and Ben, and we will get to them. We even get to them even, again, for our podcast listeners, even if it's a couple of days later, we never mind revisiting things.
Especially with the holiday weekend coming up. No shows tomorrow, right? So that gives everybody an extra day to collect some thoughts and send them in.
Yes. And tomorrow, Christian's going to be marching in, what is it called, Christian?
I'm not in a parade tomorrow. No, the Peach Days is in September.
Oh, it's in September.
Right.
Oh, okay. It's not tomorrow.
No, tomorrow will be Lloyd Cole, Salazar,
And Tim
Lacombe.
I'm going to go to the Peach Days parade just to throw peaches at you.
So, really sad story about peaches this year. There actually will not be any Brigham City peaches. They all froze. All the trees froze, and it's actually a terrible story.
That is terrible.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And you said they're bringing Peach Days back?
Well, they do Peach Days every year.
Oh, okay.
KSL doesn't always send a float up there.
I see. But we are sending one up there this year.
Yes.
And you are going to be...
I made sure that they are going to put me front and center.
Are you going to drive it?
I don't know if I'm allowed to drive a float.
Probably not. But will you stand on the float and wave as opposed to just walk like we did last year?
Probably. Or maybe I will walk so I can take pictures with everybody, like our guy Dan.
Yeah. Well, you are a celebrity up there.
Yeah.
All right, 6 o'clock hour coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk.